Hi, everybody. Welcome to our supervisor call. Thank you for being on today. We appreciate you. Sorry, I'm turning because I can't see you because I'm right here by the screen, but appreciate you being on. First thing we want to do is make sure you put your name and your county in the chat, but while you're doing that as well, we need to know if you have interns or volunteers that will be working on food sense work. So throw that in the chat with your name and your county so we have you on the roll. All right, Casey.
Good morning. I just have a couple of things. We are updating our farmers market edition of the cookbook this year. It's obviously not ready yet, but it'll be ready, within the market season, so probably another 6 weeks or so. But we're just kind of compiling our recipes. So this is just a request if you have something that's food sense or your own personal recipe that's really produce heavy that you love and think fit our criteria well. So quick, inexpensive, easy to find ingredients that feature seasonal produce, then feel free to send them my way. You don't have to, but if you just have something that you really love, then we'd love to include it. So I'd probably say within the next week if you could send those to me. And then the other thing is the in-service this month, I'm going to do the in-service on added sugars, and we've heard some questions from NEAs on how to respond to some questions about added sugars and if some forms of sugars are healthier than others. And I think that's going to be a relatively quick topic to cover. So if you have any other like nutrition related hot topics or anything that you would like me to include, I'd be happy to do that. So it's things that your NEAs may be getting questions about or things that you get questions about that you would just like a little bit of background information on kind of what the science says. I'd be happy to include that. So you could include any of those topics. You can throw them in chat now, or you can send me an email. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Jocelyn.
Okay. As we're working on 2019-2020 protocol changes, we're at the social media parts are trying to get more pictures of NEAs in action. And I just wanted to get some feedback. We're probably going to meet soon to decide what incentives we're going to include and how we're going to have them submit them and how to encourage more. But I thought maybe I would get a little feedback from you supervisors on what there might be, what inhibitors there might be that I'm not thinking of, and any ideas that you have since you know the NEAs, ways that you think that we could do better to get them to send in pictures. So I'm just kind of asking for open discussion for 5 minutes about this. Do any of you have insight as to why they're slow to send in pictures, or if you have an NEA that sends them in a lot, or I don't know. I want to approach it sensitive to the NEA's attitudes and abilities, but we need more.
I have an idea.
Yes, Hiram.
So I think that I know that there are NEAs on my team that just don't like to see themselves pictured. So perhaps if we stress the NEAs in action, doesn't necessarily have to have their faces, but it could just be the work that they're doing.
I love that. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a selfie or a self-portrait or anything. It can be the shopping cart or the trail they're on or something like that.
Or like a bird's eye view of them making the recipe. Or
Okay. So emphasize that it doesn't have to be their face front and center or their person. Okay, I like that. Thank you. And that makes a lot of sense.
And I wonder if NEAs think possibly that it has to be this large event to take a picture of, and maybe just reiterate that their classes is a perfectly, great reason to take a picture, that we want those. It's action, anything you're doing, not just the large scale events.
Okay.
Would you be interested? Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it does. I did click in a little late, but if it's a class, do they have to get a photo release form from everybody in the class?
Yes, from everyone. You're right. And that is a little bit cumbersome. Some people are willing and eager to do it. Others, Heidi mentioned, you can take a picture from the back of the class, so it shows the participants, maybe the back of their heads, but it shows the teacher up front, doing the demo. Other ways around it is there's been some, I think it was Cache Valley, maybe Box Elder, that had pictures of kids at an event where they just did them one at a time, where they had some props and a sign behind them. It was really cute. And that made it a lot easier for them to get the signed release form, because they'd say, hey, we're taking your picture, and can we put this up on our social media page? And they had good success with that. So one at a time with the participant. And I would love to get classes, but you're absolutely right. Getting all 20 people to sign the release form might pressure someone to sign it when they don't want to, or pressure someone, you don't want to make them feel uncomfortable about it. So doing the whole class and showing faces, that's the hardest way to do it. It's awesome, but it's.
Are you sure that it has to be when they're in a class? I thought that there was something that if you're in a crowd, it's, you at an event, you automatically have said it's okay to take my picture. I don't know.
Yeah, nope, we do have to have, if you're like at a farmer's market and there's tons of people and you take a picture and there's people behind them, just to be all good, we would need to have everyone's signature. Or we'd have to kind of blur the face. Yeah. There's just so many things that we cannot assume if someone was here, if someone's trying to avoid, being detected by a predator. These are the extremes, but like an angry ex-spouse, or trying to stay away from a bad boyfriend, or if he saw that she's there with my kids on Friday morning at the farmer's market, we would hate to be a part of. Those are extreme examples. The fact is that anybody that we're going to put on in our reports, or online, or on social media, or on anywhere like that, we would need to have their express permission that their image can be used. And I think that's an extension policy, but that we are eager to follow.
Yes, we will follow the strictest policy to protect our participants, however that may be.
I had another idea. Well, I think is it okay to have pictures of like modeling behavior as well? I mean, I think sometimes, like Leslie said, we focus on the events, but maybe some guidance on what things you're looking for might be helpful too.
Yeah, 100%. We're hoping that a lot of NEAs, in fact, a good deal of the NEAs are participating in the modeling behavior program that we have, where they can spend, is it 20% of?
It's 1 hour for 20 hours of work.
1 hour for every 20. Then we would love pictures of that. If they sent us and said, for my modeling, I'm creating a new recipe that I haven't done before, and then a snapshot of that they're making, or for my 1 hour, I'm walking, my dog, and take a picture of them walking the dog, or the path they're on, or something. You're absolutely right. So we'll include that. The modeling is fabulous.
So Jocelyn is writing right now a protocol on it. So if you have ideas, you can send them to her in a email or however that might be. And then with the modeling behavior, we're looking at even to do modeling behavior, that in order to count it, you have to submit a photo. It doesn't have to be your whole body. It doesn't have to be any of that. It just has to submit a photo.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so as supervisors, I'm not going to go into the detail about why this is so important for social media, but in a nutshell, we just want our NEAs to be visible to the counties, visible on social media as people who are successfully and happily enacting a lot of the concepts that we teach. And we think that'll have, and like I said, it doesn't have to be their faces, but we think that will help roll things forward a little bit more on social media. So if you have ideas, or if your NEA expresses either concern about doing this or has a good idea about doing it, I would love your feedback, because I want it to be something that everybody's excited and comfortable doing, and I don't want to make people uncomfortable. So if you would send that information or any insights or guidance to me, I would appreciate it. And then we'll roll that out. We'll probably talk about an annual conference about how to get more NEAs in action photos. Okay. Thank you for your comments.
Thanks, Jocelyn. Lacey?
I just wanted to find out interest amongst the counties in regards to creating a sort of summary for eligibility purposes. I've been working on the needs assessment piece for the statewide grant, and with that I've sifted through a lot of data concerning health and just like different demographics as far as low income and things about our target audience. Would you all be interested if I compiled a sort of one-page summary for each county of just things that I noted. I'm like, oh, in this county they have a high level of this, or this zip code has an awful lot of SNAP recipients. It essentially just be a sort of summary of the eligibility folder. This next year, those will become eligibility websites. And so we're excited about that, but I don't think that project will be entirely complete until October for the new grant year. So, would you like it? Is it worth my time?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would appreciate it.
Biggest county just said
Okay.
Yeah.
was gonna
Well,
say,
I mean, that's what we have to put in for our impact statements, and and proving that we're helping out and stuff like that is the very stuff that you're talking about. So
yeah, and not only they report it to their county commissioners and stuff, but
Right.
they also, as they're writing grants and things, it will be helpful for them in that.
Essentially be a sort of summary of this is why we should be doing this, because there's this number of people who are in poverty, there's this level of obesity or overweight, these level of chronic illness, this number of people who are following guidelines for fruits and vegetables or physical activity. I have access to all of that data from, I think it's 2017, so it's pretty current for a lot of it. And so, right on, I will work on that.
Thank you, Leslie.
Okay, I just had a reminder for everyone about the new IRB protocol. This was mentioned at last week's meeting, and in case your NEAs have questions, we no longer have to read the script before giving out surveys in our classes.
Besides food, fun, and reading, they still have to do.
There's no
Well,
script.
Well,
but yeah.
true, but it comes out in that's the only one that has anything that they have to do with the IRB.
Right, but with the food, fun, and reading, the informed consent's already in the
Yeah.
Qualtrics, so we're good. And you also don't have to collect informed consent from now moving forward for your participants to take a survey. If you have any that are in your office or that you still need to send to the state office, the informed consents, please still mail those to us so we can have the copies. But yeah, are there any questions about the survey protocol? Okay, thanks. If
sorry,
anything,
wait, I have, okay, so this means that when they go into the class, they can just automatically hand out the surveys.
Yep, exactly. And it's still a voluntary thing. We don't want to force anyone, or or on the flip side, we don't want to make it seem like it's not an important part of our program. We want to be neutral and just hand out the survey, and they have the choice to either fill it out or not. And so I would even go ahead and set it on the desk, and then if they want to fill it out, they can. If not, you can explain what it is, let them know that we appreciate their time and that this is something that helps us improve our programming and that it helps us continue to provide these wonderful classes that we provide. But we can't obviously force anyone. It's still a voluntary thing.
Will you remind them
Sorry,
pre
code of conduct, no coercion.
Yeah, exactly.
pre versus all the other surveys? Will you just give them a reminder?
Oh, sure. Yeah, and so we're still on the pre-post model. And so just a reminder that the pre-surveys happen before you teach the class. Okay, and then the post-test happens after the last class has been taught. So if you can just remember it by thinking pre just means they haven't been taught anything yet, and post, they've been taught all of their classes.
And the others are after too. So.
I have a question. It's a little bit off base. I know in the last meeting you talked about getting rid of the surveys for food, fun, and reading eventually. Not now, but if that were...
We're not getting rid of the surveys.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Or the informed consent, I mean.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I meant. If that's the case, will it affect training of any new hires, like IRB training, or is that still going to be required?
Still required.
Yeah, so that's still required, but currently the informed consent for food, fun, and reading is already inside the Qualtrics survey. So you don't need to physically hand them anything because when they go to that link, they'll see it.
Okay, great. I was just curious. Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, and so CITI is just a training that helps us make sure that we're still following protocols, even though our surveys say that we are not having to do this stuff. We still have to prove to IRB that we meet all the requirements, and CITI is one of them. All right, Christy. Thanks, Leslie.
Okay, so I just wanted to take a second and just review what the supervisors need to do. We have a lot of new hires coming on right now, and the way that we have the onboarding program set up is there are certain responsibilities for the NEAs, for the supervisor, and then for the trainer, and we all work together to get everything done. So just as far as updates go on the new hire checklist that is in the supervisor training tab, we no longer need the supervisors to apply for the USU email. That is being done at the state office level with Amanda. But the supervisor will receive that USU email as part of the new hire onboarding with extension. We do need the role statement should be reviewed at the time of the hire and when they're doing their paperwork so that they have a good idea of what their responsibilities are, and then they agree to how many hours they're doing in a week's time, and they know and understand their role. And then that needs to be scanned and uploaded and CC'd to either Marcia or myself, whoever is their trainer, so that we can mark that off in their onboarding and then get it into their staff data file inbox. And then as supervisors, we just need you to go over and sit down, go through like the mileage log, and it doesn't have to be that first day, but go through with them so that they understand how to submit travel and mileage, so that those questions are not things that they have to come to you and ask, but that information is freely given, because that can be kind of an uncomfortable topic for someone that's just newly hired and still trying to understand the culture of the office. They may not understand that it's totally fine to come with questions like that, but just answer those questions before they have them. So explain how to keep track of their mileage, and then we also need that the supervisor for the first travel authorization. We're asking that the supervisors do that application, because the new hire has a lot of things to do. And if the supervisor will just do that initial travel authorization the first time and make sure that the NEA has the number for submitting their reimbursement, then from here on out, they will do their own travel authorizations as the grant year and as the fiscal year of the university ends. But just this initial one, we would like the supervisors to do that for them. And then make sure that you're going through Aggie Time, how to complete it, what you want to see in Aggie Time as far as notes and projects, so that the employee is meeting your expectations as you go in and approve hours. And then just review Duo so that they're not confused as to what that is, and just, I guess, give them a heads up that there is a Duo authentication on any of the things, so that when they see that come through in their email, they'll know and understand what that is. And then just review the dress code. And again, this is really just to save them from having to ask the questions of what do I wear to work? What's appropriate for me to wear when teaching classes? And maybe just help them understand the culture of extension and Food Sense itself. So, and then like for the first week, we will start meeting with them as trainers and then work closely with them for the next couple of weeks and keep the supervisors in the loop as we make contact with them. But then at that fourth week, we are going to be sending them back to you as the supervisor to help them start making those connections in the county, to start planning classes of their own and meeting those, having those networking opportunities to meet with the agencies that you're partnering with in your county. So if you have any questions or have anything that you need from us as trainers, as many of you are hiring and onboarding new NEAs, please reach out to us. we feel like the system that we have set up works really well. If everyone's doing their part, then there's no gaps. But we need everybody to do their part, and that includes us making sure that we're scheduling time to meet with them and answering questions for them as well. But just know that we're here if you have any questions.
Thank you, Christy. Along with that, when you're hiring, don't give a hire date until we have the paperwork processed. We can be fined from federal charges because we have to hire within a certain amount of time. And since Food Sense is a little different than other extension programs, we do request that you follow the protocols that we have written up. We've even written some more because we've had some stuff come up, and so we're just trying to make it an easy process for you. But it's really hard when something happens and you've hired somebody without us knowing anything, and that has happened. And in our protocol manual, it states that we will not hire them onto Food Sense if you do not follow the proper procedures. So make sure that you are, and that approval has been given for hiring, and approval has been given for the hiring of the person as well before you even submit their paperwork or hire them. You need to justify why you're choosing that person. Specifically, if you are hiring when it says that Spanish is preferred, then we need to know why if it's not a Spanish person, why that non-Spanish person was hired when it said Spanish preferred. Maybe it's because you didn't get any applications after trying for a couple months. That's understandable. We just need to have that justification in line so that we can make sure that we're meeting the requirements that we have put into the grant. Okay, that's, I have a couple other things that I just wanted to cover. Now I have to find where this one. The next thing that I wanted to talk to you about is we're getting close to the end of the university fiscal year, which is the end of June. We would appreciate all expenditures turned in by July 1st. You could even, if possible, spend ahead. So if you're doing something that weekend before July 1st, that receipts and things have been turned in by, it would be great if everything could be turned in by June 28th. We have to close our year twice, and that also means that come July 1st, we'll need new TAs resubmitted for everybody so that they're on the new fiscal year for the university. The next thing that I have is, do you guys have any questions or concerns for us?
You want to see Hiram's baby?
Yeah. Hiram, talk to us so you'll pop up in our screen.
Okay. Here he is. He's just waking up.
So cute. He looks just like you.
It's pretty fun. He doesn't like to sleep through the night, so here we are.
Soon. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question on P cards.
Yeah.
So I've always had my NEAs each have an individual P card, and I understand now that that's not the best way of doing it. And so how do other people do it?
Why not, Kathy? Why isn't that the best way?
I don't know. Because then I have a lot of P cards out. I don't know. I mean, to me, it makes sense to have, because otherwise, I mean, like Nancy, was texting me at 7 a.m. this morning, saying, "Can I come and borrow the Food Sense card?" Because she doesn't have a P card yet. But I mean, the protocol on getting the P card, I thought I just went ahead and applied because that's what used to happen. But I have to go through you guys first, or what is the protocol on that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's, once again, I oversee all the funding for Food Sense, and I'm not going to have people randomly just spending money without me knowing. So that's why you come through our office, so I know that ultimately I'm responsible if you screw up, and I don't want to be responsible for that. So we are making it. So.
And I've done it so many times lately, and I'm sorry.
You know what, Kathy? Everybody makes mistakes, so I'm not even meaning that, but I'm just saying that's why we come through the state office, just so that we are in the know, that because honestly, one of our supervisors terminated an employee that should never have been terminated. So we had to, like back things up because they transferred. So that so we have stuff happening that is like shocking to me, that people just do stuff. So we're just trying to keep track of what's going on, and you're doing just fine. I think if you don't mind managing, because you're ultimately responsible then for your county P cards for your NEAs, that's okay. They can have a P card. If you're worried about limits, we can set limits, very, very low limits, or but you have to approve their P cards. So you have to make sure they turn all the receipts in, and you have to approve all of that. Melanie works. I think Melanie has one P card, and she has it all figured out. They do. One person does the shopping. Or Melanie, go ahead and tell them how you work it with your 8 NEAs.
Yeah, at one point we had 10, and I think that's when the P cards were just shifting, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to have 10 P cards to worry about if one person misses a receipt, like who is it? And anyway, so I just decided there was one, and they have the key, or they know where the key is to the locked filing cabinet where it is. And they just organize amongst themselves. Sometimes we do it in staff meeting, but most of the time they get together and we'll give whoever is shopping for the week the shopping list of what they need. And generally they'll just go shopping like Monday morning for the whole week. And sometimes during farmers market season, we have to do 2, where they'll shop for farmers market supplies at a different time later in the week or closer to the farmers market. But that, and the P card is in my name. So they have to fill out that. Actually, it's moved to online. I don't remember where it is now, but there's a authorized user form that they fill out that gives them authority to use my P card. And that way, when a purchase is made, I get the email about it, and I know what's being spent because it's in my name, and I can see that way easier than trying to look up 4 or 5 or 6 different P cards to make sure that they're all getting through before June 30th.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have to say she does a really good job. I don't even think that at all in the last year, or probably the year before that, I've had that late P card thing come from Melanie's County. So for having 8 NEAs that use one P card, I don't think I've ever had that email come through. So good job. So Kathy, it's a personal choice how you want to manage it. I hate using a P card because I don't like filling out the paperwork. So I ask Amanda to buy all my stuff. I already have to approve everybody's anyway. So hello, buddy. How are you? Is this one Nico? Hi, Nico. How are you? Anybody have any more questions? Did I scare you? Okay, I think you're doing a great job. I know we've had a rough year with empty positions and now filling positions, and that's a lot of time and a lot of hard work. And we appreciate your efforts that you've put into it, and that you continue to do such a great job supervising. Please reach out to us anytime you have any questions. My cell phone's in the bottom of my email, and oftentimes if I'm not answering by email, just send me a quick text and I can get back to you. The last few months have actually I've been in and out a lot, and I will for another week. But I am happy to answer texts quickly. If you have a quick text, you can text me, then I can just answer quickly, or anyone else in the office can assist with things. So thank you so much. Maybe we should say hi to Sam too. Hi, Sam.
He can't hear you because I have headphones on, but is there advisory council after this, or is it just supervisor?
You know, I'm not prepared for advisory council, so unless you have stuff you want to talk about. No, we'll skip that meeting. I'm sorry. I'll get back on track. Oh yeah, one more thing. Just a reminder, if you got on late, if you have volunteers or interns in your county, to write in the chat that you do and or not, and then put your name and your county in there. And I think that's it. So thanks everybody.